So I'm literally ready to strangle someone right now. I just talked to the Ford dealer on Monday because my Transit has this shuttering issue. It's a electrical malfunction that causes this random sound under the van. It goes like do 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 do, and then sometimes there's a beep after it. It's been going on ever since I bought this van used. It's still under warranty, and over the past year, the van has spent almost 4 months at the Ford dealer. It is absolutely ridiculous. Every single time I bring it in, they're like, oh yeah, we're gonna fix it, and then they don't fix it. And I bring it in again, oh yeah, we're gonna fix it, they don't fix it. And then again and again, and this is the fourth time that I've had to bring it in. Literally, like a month ago, I had an appointment that I brought it in for on like February 3rd, right? And I said, there's an issue with the shuttering, the electrical malfunction. It's been diagnosed before. It's draining the battery. It's happening in the middle of the night. It's happening when you open the driver's door. It's driving me crazy. And you guys have already diagnosed this problem multiple times and I need it to be fixed. So they're like, okay. And I also told them about some engine problems that I was having. And so they actually ended up replacing the engine. But then the guy called me and he's like, yeah, I can't get the shuttering issue to go off, which is just insane because it goes off all the time. And so I was like, okay, well, maybe, replacing the engine fixed it. So I come in and the first thing I do is I take a video, right? And I open the door and there it goes again. It's like, how can you even miss that? And so I go in and I talk to the foreman and then I bring him out to the van, open the door, I show him the problem. He's like, okay, I see where it's coming from. That's really strange. I've never seen this happen before. And then we go back in and he like writes it down like very simply, very clearly for the technician that's going to work on it. And I'm like, okay, great. Let's get the problem solved. And then I call back a week later and they've done nothing. They've supposedly diagnosed it as the fuel pump, but last time they diagnosed it as the blend door, which is the thing that controls like the hot and cold air. So I'm like, I don't even know what's going on. These people are so unbelievably incompetent that, like I said, I'm just like ready to strangle someone. It's like, I don't know. I just don't know what to do because I called in on Monday. Now it's been like 2 weeks since I came back in and showed the foreman the problem like again. And the person I talked to, first of all, they didn't even know what was going on. They were like, oh yeah, the van's done. I'm like, no, it's not done. It still has a problem. And he's like, oh, sorry, I'm looking at the wrong ticket. I'm like, okay, so let's look at the right ticket then. He gets the right ticket out and he's like, oh, okay, it's actually just a normal noise coming from the fuel pump. And I'm like, no, it is not a normal noise. Like, you guys have already diagnosed this yourself. Like, this isn't just like me as a customer being difficult. This is like, you already did the work yourself. It's on the file. And like, they don't even look at it, I don't know. I'm losing my mind because I'm living in a van life build and I can't live in the build because it's like sitting at the Ford dealer and I just don't even know how to explain how frustrating this is. It's like one thing to bring your van life build in and leave it somewhere for a week for a problem to get fixed, but it's another thing for it to spend 4 fucking months at the dealer. I can't do anything. I can't film my barefoot reviews for new shoes. I can't work on the van build. I can't live in there. So I'm like stuck in my fucking mom's house again. And every time I call them, it's like starting over from scratch. No one is aware of like what is going on. The foreman doesn't talk to the technician or the technicians. I don't know. There's like nothing that I can do to make them do it because every time I call in, they just keep delaying and delaying and delaying. They're like, oh, we're working on it. And I'm like, well, is it even in the garage? And they're like, no, it's out in the lot. So I'm like, how can you be working on it if it's out in the fucking parking lot? But beyond the practical thing, it's just like the frustration of feeling like I am in this story. Like imagine you're reading a book and it's getting really good. You're like in the main storyline and then suddenly the book goes off on like this side quest. And at first you're like, well, this kind of sucks, but maybe the side quest is interesting. And then it happens again and again and again and again and again. And there are other things too. It's like in the winter, it was really hard because it was like anywhere from 0 degrees to 10 degrees Fahrenheit almost every day. So it was too cold to work out in the garage at my dad's house. So I couldn't do anything. For months, I was just stuck on my van build. And that was really frustrating, especially because I was trying to get the bookcase done, which I needed for my filmmaking background. It just, it looked like crap because there was just this like unfinished wall, which, I can't like put that forward as like a professional filming background for reviewing shoes and whatever else. And there was other things like van builds are really expensive. So you're constantly having to like save up money for things like, buying the windows to install and, the wood for the floor and the sides. And so that requires waiting as well, sometimes as much as a month while you're saving up the funds. So it just feels like I'm sitting in prison. And it's not like I'm asking for the moon, right? I'm just trying to finish this really simple place to live and to film my videos and to have a daily routine rather than constantly having to move back into my parents' house like a fucking loser. And honestly, like, this, I think, is the main thing that is driving people towards social media addiction and brain rot. It's the feeling of frustration at not being able to move forward in life. For example, my friend Karen, also my health practitioner who broke her hip, she was like left on a stretcher for 48 hours at the hospital and she developed a bed sore. And then like a year before that, she had this like digestive blockage and the medical system wouldn't do anything about it. She kept going back and back and back and back and back, like, and they would just recommend that she have like prune juice, and like a bowel regimen. And it wasn't working, months after months. She was telling them, this isn't working. I need, surgery or someone to investigate this further. And they didn't do it. So she just got weaker and weaker and weaker. And then she broke her hip. And then they sent her to this like janky ass rehab that didn't have enough staff. And now she's like stuck there, and it's like you can make calls to all these different doctors' offices and surgeons and hospitals until you're blue in the face. But if they just like delay, what are you going to do? You have no power. And then a third example, my dad had his old washer and dryer break. So my mom and my brother pitched in to get him a new dryer. And what do you think happens with the dryer? Literally like 5 days after he gets it, it breaks. It won't even start anymore. It just goes, and he eventually got it fixed, but like just, it's like enshittification of everything now. And how are you supposed to avoid it when it's just everywhere? I mean, like I've said, I would love to be able to live without a vehicle. It would be great if I could just live out of a tent, and maybe if I moved to someplace warm, that would be more practical. But I'm stuck in New York where my parents are living because they're getting older and they have health issues, so I can't move. And so I have to have a vehicle, whether it's a van or something else. And then you're stuck with problems like this where there's just nothing that I can do about it to force the dealer to do what they're supposed to do, what they're paid to do. So again, this is why people are addicted to social media or anything else, whether it's alcohol, drugs, just like the feeling of hopelessness, being stuck in the system and not being able to get out because there's nowhere to go. There's nowhere you can go to get outside of the system. So I don't know, like really the only thing that I can do now is contact Ford customer care and try to see if that puts some pressure on the dealer, but I have like no optimism for that whatsoever. On the bright side, it is getting nicer outside, but that kind of like really pisses me off because I need to be working on the van life build so that I can get it ready to travel maybe in the summer. I've had it for like 2 years and I still haven't gone on a freaking trip. Anyways, that's where I am. I really hope that I can get the van back in another week or two, finally fixed, because I have everything else lined up in my life. My diet is working really well for me. I finally cured my insomnia. I've got half my sci-fi book finished and I'm just like ready to get back in the van and start writing it again. So fingers crossed that is what happens. But yeah, more Vivo Barefoot reviews coming tomorrow and I will catch you guys then. Peace.